this video on multiplying radicals. So we have simplified radicals, we have added and subtracted radicals, and now we're going to multiply them. Okay, so there's three things to keep in mind while we're working through this. You want to multiply all the coefficients. So the coefficients are the numbers on the outside. So outside number to outside number is going to get multiplied. Okay, then you're going to multiply the radicands using the product rule. Square root of a times the square root of b equals the square root of a times b together underneath the radical. So remember, the radicand is the number under the radical. And then once you've done that, we're going to simplify the resulting radicals. Let's take a look at these. All right, so we want to take the square root of 8 and we want to multiply it to negative 3 square root 2. Okay, I'm going to draw parentheses around here because I think it helps you see it just a little bit better. So I want you to multiply the coefficients. That's the numbers on the outside. So there's really a 1 here. So you have 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. Then you have the square root, this is multiply the radicands, square root of 8 times square root of 2. So I'm just going to write it like this right now, 8 times 2. It's kind of what we did up here, a times b. We want to see if these things will simplify. 2 does not simplify anymore, it's a prime number. 8, if you remember, I told you my trick with 8 is it's just 2 times 2 times 2. Okay, so now remember, we're looking for pairs for one of them to come out. I have my number in the front. It's going to multiply to anything that comes out. I have a pair of 2's, so that means a 2 is going to come out. I have another pair of 2's, so that means another 2 is going to come out. And there was nobody left behind. That 8 was broken down to 2 times 2 times 2. There is no unpaired numbers, so there's not going to be a radical in here. So I have negative 3 times 2 is negative 6, times 2 is negative 12. Okay, let's try it again. So we have outside numbers times outside numbers. I'm going to put parentheses around here. I think it helps to see. So I have 1 times negative 1, so it's going to be a negative 1 on the outside. And then inside number times inside number. Well, either of these break down. 2 is prime and 3 is prime, so they're not going to break down, so we're just going to actually multiply them together. So I get negative 1 square root of 6, or it could just be negative square root of 6. Those say the exact same thing. Okay, so let's start looking at a few more numbers that we're all looking at together. And if it helps you, draw your parentheses around them to help you see it. Outside number to outside number. So 5 times negative 7 is negative 35. Then inside number times inside number, I'm going to do 10 times 12. And we're going to see if those two will start to break down. So 10 is 2 times 5. So we just rewrote it. 12 is 2 times 6. And 6 is 2 times 3. Okay. So let's see what we've got. I've got my negative 35 that's going to come down, and anything else that comes out is going to multiply to it. I have a pair of 2's right here, so I'm going to bring a 2 out. And I don't see any other pairs. I see a single 5, a single 2, and a single 3. That means they're going to go back underneath. 5 and 2 and 3 go back underneath the radical and we'll multiply back together. And we get, let's see here, negative 70 square root 5 times 2 is 10 times 3 is 30. Negative 70 square root 30. All right, let's keep trying some more problems because really just seeing it really helps. So we've got negative 4 square root 14 times 2 square root 8. Outside number times outside number is negative 4 times 2, which is negative 8. Inside, I'm going to have 14 times 8. We could multiply those together, but we're going to end up breaking them right back down again, so it just is easier at this point to do this. So let's start breaking these down. 14 is 2 times 7, and 8, that's my favorite one. I always remember it, 2 times 2 times 2. Okay, I have a negative 8 on the outside, and it's going to multiply to anything else that comes out. I have a pair of 2's right here. That means a 2 is going to come out. I have another pair of 2's, so that means another 2 is going to come out. And then I have this single 7 left behind. That means the single 7 goes under the radical. Okay, so we have negative 8 times 2, which is negative 16, times 2 is negative 32, and under my radical I have the square root of 7. All right, hopefully we're starting to get this. I want you to try these next two on your own. Pause the video and then we'll come back and see how you did. Alright, so let's see how we did. So we had 4 outside number to outside number. Remember there's a 1 right there, so 4 times 1 is 4. An inside number to inside number. I can break these down, but I actually have a pair, 2 of the same thing. So anytime you have 2 of the same thing, 1 comes out. And there was nothing left to go back under the radical. And 4 times 6 is 24. And our last one like this, outside number to outside number, negative 5 to 3 is negative 15. Inside number times inside number. Okay? So let's start to break this down. 20 is 2 times 10, which is 2 times 5. Okay. 15 is 3 times 5, and that's as far as that one's going to break down. So now let's start looking at what we've got. We started with a negative 15 on the outside. It's going to multiply to anything else that comes out. I have a pair of 2's. That means a 2 comes out. I have a pair of 5's. So that means a 5 is going to come out. And I have this one single 3 right here who has no partner. That's going to go back underneath the radical. Okay, so we have negative 15 times 2, which is negative 30, times 5 is negative 150. And then we have a square root of 3. Alright, so these were monomials times monomials. Sometimes they go a little bit bigger. So let's flip this over and we're going to try some slightly bigger, longer problems. Same process though. Okay, so here I have a monomial times a binomial. We're going to distribute it. I'm just going to write this. Outside number to outside number. Okay, so here's where it's a little hard. 3 does not have a radical to it, so 3 is an outside number. So you have 1 times 3, which is 3, and then the square root of 6 doesn't have anybody to multiply by, so it's just going to come down as the square root of 6. Plus, now we're going to do the square root of 6 times the square root of 8. 1 outside number to outside number times 1 is still 1, and then you're going to have 6 times 8. So we want to see if they'll break down. 2 times 3, that's not going to change. So we're going to have 3 root 6, that's not going to change. And this is 2 times 3, and 8, remember, is 2 times 2 times 2. So I'm going to bring down my plus, and what's going to come out? I have a pair of 2's, so a 2 will come out. I have another pair of 2's, so another 2 will come out. And then I have this 3 that's going to stay inside. Okay? So finish simplifying. 3 root 6 plus 4 root 3. These are not like terms, so we can't go any further with it. So that was distributing. Here's double distributing. Remember our FOIL. It's a binomial times a binomial. So we're going to go first term to first term. 4 times 2 is 8. Then 4 times negative 1 square root 2 becomes negative 4 square root 2. Okay, that was this jump right here. Then we have The square root of 3 times 2, that 2 is an outside number, so it has to go on the outside, and then the square root of 3. Okay. And then we have square root of 3 times negative square root of 2. 3 times 2. Okay. Now let's see if we can start breaking stuff down. 8. There's no other constants, nothing for it to combine with, so it's just going to go there. Negative 4 root 2, there's no other root 2's, plus 2 root 3, because there's no other root 3's, minus the square root of 6, because it won't break down any further. It's junky looking, but there it is. Okay, so let's just try a couple of those. So we have a distribution one, so that's like example 1 up above. I have the square root of 15 times 2. 2 is an outside number, so 2 goes on the outside, square root of 15. Then there's a plus sign. Then I have the square root of 15 times the square root of 5. So we're going to say 15 times 5. So we want to see if things will break down. This is 3 times 5. There's no pairs, so that's going to remain 2 square root 15. 15 is 3 times 5, and I have a 5 there already. So I have a 5 that's going to come out, and a 3 that's going to remain inside. Those are not like terms, so that is going to be our answer. Okay. So this one, we're going to come back to that one, and that's a distribution one like we just did here, and a binomial one. Okay. Outside terms to outside terms, inside terms to inside terms. So the coefficient times the coefficient is 1 times 1, so it stays 1. Square root of 5 times square root of 5. So I'm just going to write it like that right now. That was this. Now I'm going to take square root of 5 and multiply it to the 4. So it's really 1 times 4 on the outside. And then we have a square root of 5. And then we're going to multiply here. 2 times the square root of 5 is 2 square root 5. And then we have 2 times 4, which is 8. Alright, so now let's take a look. The square root of 5 times 5, we have a pair of 5's, which means a 5 comes on the outside and there was nothing left over, so the radical goes away. That's actually going to become 25, and the square root of 25 is just 5. Then we have some like terms here. We have 4 root 5 plus 2 root 5. So remember, when we have like radicands, we just add their coefficients. So that is 6 root 5. And we have plus 8. Now what I notice is I simplified this one and it became a constant. And I have a constant out here on the end. So 5 and 8 are like terms. So we want to combine them. 5 plus 8 is 13, and we can't combine it with the plus 6 square root 5. So what I want you to do is pause the video here, try these other two on your own, give them a good try, and let's see how you did. Alright, let's see how you did. So we're going to take 3 square root 10 times 5. 3 times 5 is 15, and then you're going to have the square root of 10. Now 3 square root 10 times 4 square root 2. So 3 times 4 is 12. And you're going to say 10 times 2. Alright, so let's see if we can start to simplify this down. 10 is 2 times 5. There's no pairs there, so it's not going to actually simplify. It's going to stay 15 square root 10. But over here, 10 is still 2 times 5, but I had this 2 that I was multiplying by already. So that actually makes a pair of 2's. So I have plus 12. That was already on the outside. Another 2 is going to come out from our pair. And I have that single 5 right there who's going to go back inside. So I have 15 square root 10. 12 times 2 is 24 root 5. Okay, and our last one for our FOIL here. So you have first term times first term. So you get the square root of 2 times 2. Then we're going to go to the next one out. And you're going to get the 5 is a coefficient on the outside. So 5 square root 2, because square root of 2 times 5 is 5 square root 2. Then I have negative 6 times the square root of 2, which is negative 6 square root 2. And then I have negative 6 times positive 5, which is negative 30. So now we need to start looking at simplifying. I have a pair of 2's, which means one's going to come out and there's nothing else left over. That radical completely disappeared. Because if we multiplied those, that's 4, and the square root of 4 is 2. Then we have some like terms. We have 5 root 2 minus 6 root 2 equals negative 1 root 2. And then I have minus 30. I still have like terms. I have two constants here. 2 minus 30 is going to be negative 28 minus 1 square root 2. All right, so we'll go over some more examples in class and do some practice. See you then.